Hi, my name is Jordan Lane, and I'm from Must Not Sleep Games. And I'm going to teach you today on how to import dynamic data into InDesign to create a game deck. And we'll be able to generate game decks based on this dynamic info. So here we have just a basic Google Docs sheet here. And right now we've got six cards we're going to generate from this sheet. Now the benefit of doing this kind of exporting through InDesign like this is that if we had 100 or even 60 different cards, and over the course of developing a game you're going to be balancing and changing and deleting cards, you don't want to have to go into static files and change those numbers around every time you do a rebalancing. That's going to take a whole lot of time and effort that you don't want to have to put in. So here we have 6 cards that are going to generate dynamically into InDesign based on this cell data. So you'll notice that we've got a row of kind of identifiers up here, and this is read by InDesign as kind of the placeholder type. So I'll show you in a second when we end up loading these values in how this works, but basically you're going to define a text field that a class is going to go into, and then it's going to generate an accountant, 2 warriors, 2 skeletons, and an orc as far as cards go. And then it's going to also generate for each card all of this data with the fields that we define. Now down here in the end, you'll notice that we have an @img here, and this is a little different from the other ones as far as alphanumeric goes. This is going to signal to InDesign that these are going to be images. Now one thing to keep note about this is that the directory structure, so how your folder structures are created, are relative to the location of your InDesign file. So in this instance, we go into our InDesign files right here in the deck creation under tutorials. So we're going to go into Art, Heroes, and then here we have all of our matching files for our heroes, and then our enemies. We've got 3 matching files here for our enemies as well. Okay, so we're going to export this file into a CSV. And a CSV is simply a comma-separated value. So that's what CSV stands for. What's going to happen is it's going to take all of these values, it's going to maintain the rows, and it's going to maintain the columns by commas. So it's going to take all the space out, it's going to put a comma in, and then these are just going to be next to each other. But these rows will stay valid, and let's export that right now. So to do that from here, oh, one other thing. If you're using Microsoft Excel, this @ symbol is a protected character in that you need to put an apostrophe in before it. But since we're using Google Sheets, I don't need to do that. But if you are using Excel, you'll need to do that. So I'm going to go download as. I believe it's just export as in Excel. I haven't used it in a little while, so your mileage may vary. And then it's going to download right here, and you see I've already got a couple downloaded there. So I'm going to eliminate that, and I'm going to show you what the file looks like real quickly here. So this is what it looks like here. So you'll see that class, name, attack, defense, speed, and @image. There's no spaces there, and it's just separated by a comma. The machine will have no problem reading this. You don't have to worry about if these don't match up spatially in this file. It's all the program reads it based on the commas, so that's not a big deal. Okay, so now that we've got our data exported from our spreadsheet here, we're going to go into Illustrator and just create a quick template. I've got one here already, but I'm going to show you kind of how to use CC Library. If you're not already using it, particularly in your prototyping phase, you're really missing out on some workflow. So I'm going to run through that really quickly too. So here I've got a very basic template. I've got an outline. I got a couple rectangles to hold some data, and yeah, a square for where I kind of want things placed. A little temp holder stuff. Right now we're running just a 2.5-inch by 3.5-inch card, classic poker style card, poker sized card. So from here, you're going to select everything that you want selected to be included in your template. And you're going to, if you don't already have your libraries window open, you're going to go down to libraries and you're going to click that. And then that's going to open this up right here. And this is your CC libraries. And you can actually create a couple different libraries, probably a lot of different libraries, inside here. So right now I've got one set up specifically for the deck creation tutorial I'm running right now. So we go down to the add comment once you have everything selected, of course. And we're going to get add graphic. And there you go. This is going to preserve all of this vector data across the majority of your CC apps. It's going to come into Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Bridge, I believe, has access to this. I think you can access it from your CC doc as well. I'm going to delete this one real quick because I already have this one going. The one nice thing about this too is now it's an independent Illustrator file. You can see right there it says created in Adobe Illustrator. If you double click this, then you get this separate file from your other file. So this is the separate AI file, Adobe Illustrator file. And then you have full editorial control in here as well. And this will update across all of your CC panels, or CC apps, I should say. So yeah, so this is like a super powerful tool. So we've got this. It's now in the cloud. It's living there. And we're going to go into InDesign. So here we are in InDesign. We're going to create a document. Go to New, Document. And you'll notice right away, like, what is this? This is not inches. This is not pixels. This is not points. No, InDesign by default uses a unit of measurement called picas, which is used in typography and fonts. And if my memory serves me right, 1 pica is 1/6 of an inch. Now in almost all of the CC suites, you can type in, as long as you specify the unit type, what you want, and it'll convert it automatically for you. Or you can use the drop-down menu in this instance and select inches, and there you are. So we're going to create our 2.5 by 3.5 inch file here. So there we go, we got a blank file. We're going to need some windows open to be able to do what we want to do. So we're going to go to Window, Utilities, and Data Merge, make sure that's open. And then under here as well, we're going to make sure we have CC libraries open. And I'm going to have effects and my layers open as well. And I've got some of these other ones open off screen. So immediately what we can do is we can load our data in. So we're going to select our data source. We're going to import our CSV that we exported from Google Sheets. And there we go. Here's our columns of data from that spreadsheet. Now we're going to import our template from Illustrator, actually from the cloud, right? So once we drag, we're going to click and drag out into here, and then it's going to let us place anywhere in the file. And to do that, we just click. Now you want to be careful where you're clicking if you already have content in your file, because it will place this inside of a window, which then could, or inside of a frame, which then could resize it or do funny stuff. So you want to make sure that you're not clicking inside any of that at the beginning. So here we are, and I'm going to align to page, and I'm just going to center this up real quick. So it's nice and purdy-like. So here we've got our basic template inside of a new file, inside of a poker-sized card, and we've got our data in here. Sweet. So I'm going to, first of all, lock this layer, and I'm going to create 2 more layers. And one's going to be dynamic, and the other is going to be static. Now I'm going to create a couple of just identifier fields in the static down here. I'm going to create a attack. I'm going to create a defense and a speed. Perfect. I'm going to line these up real quick. Oops, still have that set to stage. And I'm going to distribute them horizontally. Perfect. Great. And I think I'm also going to center align all these. We've got some static text here, and I'm going to lock that down because that's all it needs to do is sit there and let us know what those values mean. So then we're going to go into the dynamic text, and we're going to create all the fields that we need. So we'll create the class field first. That's going to be this one. Then we're going to need to create the name field, which is this one here. Then we're going to need to create the attack number field, the defense number field, and I'm just kind of roughing this in right now. If you want to go back and make it all pretty and precise, that's all good too. And I'm going to make sure all these text fields are center aligned. So when the data loads in, it's going to load right on the center. Now, something to be mindful is that InDesign will load it to the top. It won't load it to the center, like as far as the respective of the text body goes. It'll align to the top first, but it will align center to the left and right margin. So I'm going to move all of these down a little bit, probably something like that, just so that they can they're a little closer to their static definers. And I'm going to move this down a little bit so the spacing is a little bit better on the top and the bottom, and same thing with this, and that's good to go there. Okay, so now all we need to do now is just add in our text, our dynamic text. So here's our class, and we're just going to click class. That's it. We just go to the data merge thing and we click where we want that data to go. As they say in the infomercials, it's just that easy. So here's another one. And we're going to go to attack, and then defend, and then speed. Bada bing, bada boom. Now what you'll notice here is that, whoops. You'll notice here is that these will have little red boxes next to them. You'll notice this one doesn't. I just undid that speed. You'll notice that this doesn't have a 1 next to it anymore. This 1 indicates that it is used in a cell. So in this instance, I'm going to put speed back on there, and you'll notice that nothing fills this box up like it does here. That is because, I think because of the size of the box, but I'm not 100% sure. But you will notice that there's a little red box next to it as well, and that does indicate that there is a value in there, and I think you can drill down into that. We won't need to do that because I'm going to show you another quick way to test it, and you can just hit this preview button, and this will actually fill all of these fields with your first line of text from your spreadsheet. So you'll notice here that this is all the first line. So we got Joe Blow, and we haven't loaded this image yet, and I'm going to get to that. But right now you can see that all of this is loading in dynamically, which is great. So images are a little bit different. Images obviously don't load through a text box, but they do load through a rectangle frame tool. So you're going to select the rectangle frame tool, and you're just going to come over here, and you're going to create a rectangle frame. Now this is now over our class text, so we're going to want to put that underneath the class text. Okay, so we've got that in there. Let's select it. You can select it over here, or you can select it by clicking on the icon, or by clicking on the frame here. And now all we're going to do is click image. Boom. And look at that. Our accountant graphic is loaded in. That's great. So from here, you can see that this accountant text right here is a little wonky. I'm going to shrink that up a little bit. It's going to resize it to it. And you can do that here too if it makes you feel a little better. And formatting these makes it a little bit easier by eye to do this. Yeah, so our accountant is kind of blocking that out though. So I'm going to just backfill this really quickly with a little white and a little bit of opacity. So something like that. And if I wanted to make it super neat, I would do this. And then I could mess with the text properties to get this down a little bit more so it's centered in the box. But right now I'm not going to worry about that too much. So here we have all of our data loaded. And this is the bulk of it. It's almost done, believe it or not. So from here, we've got a couple options on how we can export this. We can export this to a PDF. And when we do that, it's going to turn the preview off. So don't frighten. That's just what the program does. It has to turn the preview off. So from here, then we can just go all records, or we can select a range. So we can go 1 through 6, or we can go 1 through 8 if we have 8 cards, or if we just want to export the warriors in the group, we could go 2 and 3. But we have options here, right? So I'm just going to do all records, and I'm going to turn the generate off overset text report because some of these may cause a little bit of an error, but for what we're doing, it's not going to generate an error that concerns us. It's more meant for bigger files. So here we go. So we're going to export this. We can go to the options here too. I should go over this real quick. So the image placement, this is going to let you adjust how your images stretch or fit proportionately. I'm going to keep items proportionately, and I'm going to hit fit because I do have a couple graphics that are about 20 pixels by 20 pixels, and I want them to fill this entire space as much as possible without being out of proportion. So we're going to keep that. I'm going to hit OK. And here we get right to an export file. And this is great. So we're right into an export. And right now we've got it set up. I've got it set up for export pages. And yep, so it's going to create separate files for PDF. So this is going to basically create a new page for every file so there's going to be 6 of them total, right? All of our cards. And then this is just going to iterate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with this kind of default text in the front. And you could change this to whatever you wanted to. So then I'm going to hit export. I should also say I have this set up to not compress anything. There's no compression on this. If you use zip, it's going to if you have 16-bit files or 24-bit files, it is going to probably, I don't think zip handles anything over 8. I believe why that's great. That's why that's grayed out, not because all of my images are 8-bit. So I've just have this set to nothing. So I'm going to hit export here, and I'm going to save it right here. As untitled is fine. And here we go. Look at that. So this didn't increment, but that's all right. You see what happened here, right? So here is all of our files. So there's the first one. That's going to be the last one. We got Dave's older brother here, a little faster. Skeleton class. And then the warrior here. So yeah, that's one way to export all of these. I'll show you another way. So another way we're going to do this is we're going to create a merged document, which is going to create a separate InDesign document. And you're going to get similar options here. And I'm going to hit OK on this because everything should still be good. I'm actually going to hit center and frame on that because I want them to be centered. I don't think it's going to matter too much because of how everything stretches. But all right, so here we go. So we're going to hit that. And now we have a separate InDesign document with all of these. And these are all editable, by the way, in a separate document. And you can save this document. So if you want to go in here and you want to edit, if you just want to go Dave's bro instead of older bro, boom, you got it. Now from here, you can save this as, you know, deck or whatever, right? So then this is all saved out. You'll notice that your CSV is out of here. It's not loaded anymore. That's because it took all that data and it parsed it out into all of these. Now I'm going to go back and show you one or two more things in the old file, but I want to show you how to export these first. So you're going to select them all your pages, and then you're going to hit File, Export. You go PDF again if you want. Or you can export into a lot of different things here. If you want a JPEG, you absolutely can do that. PNG, all that stuff is good. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to hit Save. Then we're brought up with the same one here. And export with separate. It's going to export separate PDF files, and it's also going to export with updated suffix. So this will be deck 01, 02, 03, 04 now. you don't have to export separate PDF files. If you want this as one PDF, you can actually absolutely have this as one PDF. But in this instance, we're going to go separate ones, and I'll show you what's going to happen next. So then we're going to go export, and boom, there we go. Deck 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then you can go through and use an app and rename these if you want. But here we go. We got our accountant. We got our warrior. I'll resize this a little bit so it's easier to see. Here we go. Got our warrior. We got Gronk, the orc. We got Dave, the skeleton. And we got Dave's bro, the skeleton. So you'll see that this updated text here is from this updated render, right? So we have all that data. We got our whole deck exported out super fast. I mean, it would probably, you might be able to change 2 of these cards in the amount of time it would take you to re-export all of these things. Now here's a couple extra tidbits. I'm just going to save that. A couple extra tidbits. You can have more than one of these variables inside of a text, right? So how these are laid out is that you can create spaces. Let me just create a big old, I'm going to delete a bunch of this stuff real quick. I'm going to create one big old text frame here so you can see. And I'm going to put a class name in it. I'm going to put our name in it. And I'm going to put an attack data in it. I'm going to put defense in there and speed. So when you hit preview, boom, there it is. And you can edit this on the fly. So you go accountant, comma Joe Blow, right? Joe Blow the third. And here are all of our other data. So now you can interact with this on the fly. So you can have multiple variables coming in for one card. And I mean, this basically gives you a whole lot more options than just having one in one file or one text field, right? So yeah, that's about it for this. This is a really, really efficient way, and I didn't see anybody doing these a tutorial video targeted at board games in particular, so I figured I would walk through this because it took me a little while to figure this out, and I had a little downtime today, so I figured I would throw this together. So hopefully this helps somebody out there in game development land, and hopefully you guys save some time off of your deck editing. So, all right, cheers, guys. Happy game making.